The privacy edition is in iOS 15.2 is kind of a sign of that one step forward, maybe two steps backwards kind of mentality. So if you updated your phone or your iPad, basically, what you got to do is I was kind of confused. It was off by default, at least when I updated my phone. So I had to go into, my iPhone settings, go down to privacy, and then at the very bottom, there's like an option for turning on this app privacy report. And once you turn it on, basically nothing will display there because it hasn't collected any information yet. But if you let it run for about a day or maybe, yeah, honestly, probably a day is enough for it to show you an insane amount of information that is discomforting. And I think it's good that at least there's transparency in what's happening behind the scenes because a lot is happening behind the scenes. And so there's a couple sections in the app privacy report. The first half, I believe, is something along the lines of like which apps are accessing data on your phone. So if something is accessing contacts or something is accessing your location. And then the second half of it is all about the services that applications are contacting. So all of the domains and websites that are being connected to that you would have no idea. So let's say you pop open, I don't know, your news application, whatever you use, CNN, whatever it is. You open the app up and all the connections for ads and tracking and analytics, all of those are being pinged in the background, and you would normally have no idea. At least on a desktop, we've talked about this before. You can get an ad blocker. You can probably dig into seeing all the connections a website is making. But when you talk about mobile apps, especially on the iPhone, there was never any visibility into this kind of connections that applications were making. And so we threw a couple screenshots up on it where it basically talks about appmeasurement.com, which is basically I believe a Google thing, right? Where all these analytics are being connected to, and every app you can see, Wise, NBA, Nest, Tesla, Google Maps, everything is tapping into it. In-app check for Apple, not super clear what it is. I kind of wish that if it was an Apple domain, it would tell you what it's connecting to, like at least from their own sake. But go ahead, Raju.
I think there is one other screenshot out there that provides a good description on what app privacy does. And as soon as you mentioned about app privacy yesterday, I installed it and started to monitor it. And then if you look at these two screenshots, that actually provides a good summary on what, or at least a couple of aspects out there. If you look at appmeasurement.com, think of it like Google Analytics for mobile apps. So first, I highly recommend app privacy report. It's a very, very strong feature out there. That's a good step forward, and it gives us visibility into what apps are contacting what sites, and you can even drill down into what other subsites they're reaching out to and whatnot. But
Hey,
go ahead, Brett.
go ahead, Brett. No, I want to address some of the comments, but why don't you finish up and then we'll bring those.
Sure. So if you look at this particular thing, like the app measurement domain, and Apple conveniently provides that description saying this domain may be following you across multiple apps and websites to combine your activity into a profile. That's a Google site. Because it is Google Tracker embedded in all of these apps, they know the app user activity and whatnot. But then even a Google app checks into inappcheck.itunes.apple.com. This is something I don't think even Google has control over. This is Apple tracking every single app that is opened on your phone, how much time you're using, how many times you're launching. All of that information goes back to Apple. So Apple knows about you, your phone. Of course, it knows about your device. It knows about every single app you open, how much time you spend on, how many days, and that's how it's able to provide all the reports to the developers and whatnot. So one, I really like that Apple is providing all this information and being honest about it, and as it conveniently provides a description below that says it could indicate that the domain is combining your activity into a profile. Even in Apple's case, that's exactly what Apple is doing, where it is combining all the information across all users, across all your domains, and into that. And this is where it's a good step forward that they are exposing this information. I also see it as a step backward because they are profiling the same thing. And you can assume that Android or Google is doing the same in Android as well. So this is where people will be surprised at the amount of information that is being tracked, including every single app you open and also every single URL that particular app calls.
Yeah, I would
That's
say the
great.
biggest buster here is like showing people is one thing, but there should just be an ability to tap and say block. It seems crazy not to have that. Like you're gonna show me all this stuff and do it, but like if you can't take an action on it, then it's just kind of like, well, what am I supposed to do here? Like I see it and I'm kind of just, gotta go with it. And I was just checking on my phone right now too. That I thought that in-app check would be like, when you first set up a phone, it asks you if you want to like share analytics data with Apple to like make the phone better. And then you have a second option of sharing analytics data with developers to make it better. And I know I had both of those off, but I was just double checking the settings, but it's still connecting to that same website. So there's some other, let's call it maybe potentially nefarious reason that is being used in order for them to get these updates every single time. And it could be some subscription thing. It could be, a push notification server or some other weird technical, I guess if we give them the benefit of the doubt. But like what you mentioned at the beginning of the show, it's like those brand withdrawals in terms of trust. You can't give them that benefit of the doubt anymore. And it's just mind blowing to me that Apple wouldn't go out of its way to basically identify, let's say, the top like 50 domains that apps connect, because there's probably the 50 that are mostly app analytics platforms, Apple, Google, big ones, and just tell us like in plain English to a normal user, this is what this website and domain is using. But I mean, the reason for that lack of transparency, or only half transparency in this case, is either they don't want you to know, or it's impossible to really know what's happening. Because once the information gets to whatever endpoint it's going to, that service can do whatever it wants with that payload of data, basically, and you have no idea what is actually being sent. All you know is a ping is going out. What data is being sent, there's no transparency on that. So I would call this like a pretty half-baked feature. If they were serious about it, this would get iterated upon a lot better over future updates, and hopefully it does. But I would say the lack of splash when they kind of announced this update, and the lack of on by default, or a lot of times when you like update your phone to a new version, even if it's a minor version, if there's a new killer feature, they'll have like a push notification for it, or like tips, or like there's some in phone way of notifying you about a big update, like when group FaceTime calls came out, that was like a big thing, and they like pushed it within the phone, but here they're not doing it, and either probably because they think a lot of people don't care, or some reason, but not a good one in my opinion. So hopefully this gets a lot better over time, but I don't know. I say it's a coin toss if at best.